Chapter 4. The Gift of Pain. Mr. N. rang me one day in early June because several weeks earlier his 21-year-old son Matt had pointed an unloaded starter's pistol at a police officer who was trying to arrest him for disorderly conduct. Matt was now out on bail for a serious firearms offence, and he was continuing to act recklessly. In violation of the conditions of his bail, he was staying out late, drinking with friends, sometimes not coming home for days. He was getting into fights. His parents, who both worked as teachers, were beginning to accept the fact that Matt would probably go to prison. Matt's parents had adopted him when he was 2 years old. Matt's father told me what he knew of Matt's early life. Shortly after his birth, Matt and his 17-year-old birth mother had left her parents' home, moving first to an emergency shelter and then from place to place. His birth mother, a drug user, was incapable of caring for a baby. Malnourished and ill, Matt was taken into care when he was a year old. He had spent time in several different foster homes before being adopted by Mr. N. and his wife. From early on, he had proven to be a difficult and uncompromising child, and as a result, his parents had decided not to adopt again. Several days later, Matt came to see me for a consultation. He flopped into a chair facing me and began to talk quite openly about some of the problems he faced. He told me about 2 men, brothers, who lived in his neighborhood and were out to get him. These men were dangerous and had stabbed someone he knew. Matt's situation was alarming, but as he talked, I began to notice that I didn't feel particularly alarmed. Nothing was missing from his words. His speech seemed energetic and clear. But I found it difficult to get involved in his story. I was easily distracted by the sounds of cars outside my consulting room, and caught myself thinking about some errands I wanted to run at lunchtime. In fact, every attempt I made to think about Matt's story, to take note of his words, was like trying to run uphill in a dream. This sort of gap between what a person says and what he makes you feel is not uncommon. Think of the friend who rings you when you're down, talks to you in an encouraging, supportive way, but leaves you feeling worse. The space between Matt's words and the feelings he provoked in me was enormous. He was describing a life that was frightening, but I didn't feel frightened for him. I felt uncharacteristically disengaged. In trying to comprehend my indifference to Matt and his situation, I imagined a series of scenes from his earliest months. I saw a small baby crying, "I'm hungry, feed me, I'm wet, change me, I'm frightened, hold me," and being ignored by an unresponsive mother. I had the idea that one consequence of Matt's early experiences could be that he did not know how to make someone feel concern for him, because he did not learn this from his mother. He seemed never to have acquired a skill that we all need, the ability to make another person worry about us. And what did Matt feel? He, too, seemed indifferent to his own situation. When I asked him what he felt about his arrest by the police, he replied, "I'm cool. Why?" I tried again. "You don't seem to be very anxious for yourself," I said. "You could have been shot." He shrugged. I began to realize that Matt did not register his own emotions. In the course of our 2-hour conversation, he seemed either to pick up and employ my descriptions of his feelings, or to infer his emotions from the behavior of others. For example, he said he didn't know why he had pointed the gun at the police officer. I suggested he might have been angry. "Yeah, I was angry," Matt replied. "What did you feel when you were angry?" I asked. "You know, the police, they were very angry with me. My parents were very angry with me. Everyone was angry with me," he replied. "But what did you feel?" I asked. "They were all really shouting at me," he told me. Typically, what brings a potential patient to a consultation is the pressure of his immediate suffering. In this case, it was Matt's father, not Matt, who had telephoned for an appointment. Matt had learned at an early age to deaden his feelings and to distrust those who offered him help. Our encounter was no different. Matt did not feel enough emotional pain to overcome his suspicions and accept my offer to meet again. In 1946, while working in a leprosy sanatorium, the physician Paul Brand discovered that the deformities of leprosy were not an intrinsic part of the disease, but rather a consequence of the progressive devastation of infection and injury which occurred because the patient was unable to feel pain. In 1972 he wrote, "If I had one gift which I could give to people with leprosy, it would be the gift of pain." Matt suffered from a kind of psychological leprosy. Unable to feel his emotional pain, he was forever in danger of permanently, maybe fatally, damaging himself. After Matt left my office, and before writing up my notes, I did what I sometimes do after a knotty, affecting consultation. I walked round the corner to buy a takeaway coffee, and then returned to my consulting room to zone out by reading who knows what on the Internet. The truth of the matter is this. There is a bit of Matt in each of us. At one time or another, we all try to silence painful emotions. But when we succeed in feeling nothing, we lose the only means we have of knowing what hurts us and why.